The year is 2038. 20 years of unprecedented advances in artificial intelligence have woven themselves into the very fabric of society. Perfectly photorealistic deepfakes, once a novelty used for digital pranks and minor political manipulation, have become so ubiquitous that people can scarcely trust their own eyes. Video clips of famous personalities confessing to crimes, endorsing scandalous viewpoints, or even performing bizarre acts flood the web daily. Yet no one can know which of these videos are genuine or which are fakes, at least not without specialized forensic AI tools that, themselves, can also be fooled by even more advanced generative networks. Reality, once a firm foundation upon which society stood, feels like a shifting sand dune. For every event, there exists an equal and opposite proof that the event was staged, hoaxed, or simulated. News outlets have collapsed into partisan enclaves, each ironically labeling the others as unreliable illusions. Social trust, once taken for granted, is in tatters. Amid this confusion, four individuals navigate their own paths, each searching for something real in a world shaped by illusions. Naomi Pierce, a freelance investigative journalist with a reputation for being doggedly insistent on the truth. She has grown disillusioned with mainstream media. Dr. June Nakarta, a brilliant computer scientist and AI developer who once pioneered deepfake detection but who now lives in semi-seclusion, haunted by the unintended consequences of his work. Mikhail Misha Romanov, a former intelligence operative skilled in infiltration and digital espionage. He roams the underbelly of the new AI black markets. Ava Chen, a college sophomore studying virtual anthropology, enthralled by both the promise and danger of infinite simulated realities. Their stories begin independently, yet are bound by the threads of a grander tapestry that none can see in its entirety. Together, they will uncover a truth so shocking it might tear the last shreds of consensus reality to pieces. 2. Naomi Pierce, Chasing Shadows. Naomi Pierce woke at dawn, as always. She ran her fingertips across the worn keys of her old laptop, an antique from the 2020s that she still preferred over modern voice assist systems. It was the only device she trusted, having personally dismantled and vetted every piece of hardware in it for hidden listening implants or AI subroutines. She believed her rigorous approach was the only way to anchor herself in a world where illusions abounded. In her cramped studio apartment in New York City, Naomi prepared her morning coffee by hand, too. No automated AI-optimized espresso maker for her. She found the process of physically measuring the grounds and feeling the heat of the water soothing. Manual rituals preserved her sense of the tangible, of things that had not yet become corrupted by synthetic illusions. Today, Naomi had a lead. A certain Frank R. had leaked a packet of data, supposedly authenticated news about a scandal involving Global View, one of the largest social media conglomerates. The data trove claimed that Global View had been secretly collecting millions of personal images, everything from fleeting candid selfies to government ID scans, and feeding them into advanced generative models to create deepfakes of anyone for any purpose. The rumors suggested blackmail, mass gaslighting, and insider trading. But rumor was rumor. Naomi had grown adept at verifying what was real and what was not, although sometimes the line was too blurred even for her. She opened the files on her battered laptop. Frank R. had included references to advanced cryptographic signatures that might confirm the authenticity of these documents. She needed to check them. Her phone chirped, the burner phone she used exclusively for secure tips. She flipped it open, ignoring the standard phone that lay on the table. A text read, Frank R. Naomi. I'm risking my life. Don't trust their official statements. They have illusions inside illusions. She stared at the words. The phrase, illusions inside illusions, was widely used, a sort of pop culture nod to the times, but it struck her as apt. She sighed, typed back a curt acknowledgement. Got it. Checking. Will revert. and snap the phone shut. To do her checking, Naomi would have to rely on a specialized forensic AI program, ironically the very sort of technology that contributed to the illusions of the times. But her software was open source and built by a community of paranoid truth seekers who constantly updated it with the latest detection methods. Even so, there was no guarantee. She steeled herself. It was time to chase shadows once again. 3. Dr. Jun Nakarta, Ghosts of the Past. In a secluded research facility in Kyoto, Dr. Jun Nakarta paced around his office, eyes locked onto a dataset that sprawled across 3 monitors. Outside, the pale sunlight of early morning set the cherry blossoms aglow, but the natural beauty seemed at odds with the sterile interior of the lab. Jun was once celebrated as the father of DeepSight, an AI system designed to detect manipulated images and videos. His breakthroughs had briefly offered humanity a safeguard against deception, until more sophisticated generative models appeared, weaving illusions that surpassed even DeepSight's detection abilities. Now he was working on something else altogether, a quantum-based watermarking technique that could embed an indivisible signature inside real content. If successful, it would create an unforgeable proof of authenticity. But success remained elusive. Leaning forward, he whispered into his personal notepad, his breath trembling. Trial number 247. Testing quantum watermark with a new encryption technique. His note-taking device was air-gapped, physically disconnected from any network, to protect his private data from infiltration. He frowned. Each time he approached a breakthrough, some new glitch or infiltration attempt would occur, as if a hidden adversary were hell-bent on sabotaging him. He suspected one of the major players, Global View perhaps, or maybe a government black ops unit, or maybe a group so powerful he dared not name it. Footsteps in the hallway made him tense. Dr. Aiko Matsuda, his junior colleague, knocked softly on his office door. "Jun-sensei," she called. "Come in," he replied, clearing his throat. Aiko entered, eyes flicking to the screens. "I've been rerunning the quantum tests. The results are inconclusive." Jun exhaled. "Again?" She nodded. "Yes. The watermark remains stable for the first 20 seconds of generated content, but then disintegrates. It's as though the generative adversarial network is learning how to peel it away." Jun shut his eyes. "I know. We're dealing with something that evolves in real time. My older approaches won't be enough." The two spoke in hushed tones, fearful that even within the lab's walls, prying ears or hidden cameras might twist their every word. Jun had sold the rights to his first detection algorithm to a major tech consortium a decade ago and had watched in horror as it was weaponized against dissenters. Deepfake detection had become a commodity, sold to the highest bidder, who in turn used it to further refine deepfake creation itself, an arms race of illusions. He placed a hand gently on Aiko's shoulder. "Let's not lose hope. Our approach might still work if we can optimize it in the quantum domain. We'll keep trying." Yet a gnawing fear plagued him, that he was fighting a hydra, each head replaced by 2 more. Even if he succeeded, how long before illusions overshadowed his new watermarking technique? 4. Misha, Romanov, The Underworld of Illusions. Night draped the city of Moscow, and the neon glow of holographic billboards danced on the wet pavement. Misha Romanov, dressed in a dark leather jacket, meandered through the back alleys near the old Red Square. His contacts had told him about a black market dealer who specialized in forging identity kits, collections of deepfake personas complete with falsified documents, social media footprints, and video histories. A lean man with a shaved head, Misha carried himself with a practiced casualness. He was once part of the FSB, Russia's Federal Security Service, and later recruited by a private intelligence firm. Now, as a freelancer, he delved into infiltration jobs, sometimes for governments, sometimes for corporations, and other times for unknown paymasters who paid handsomely in untraceable cryptocurrency. But his personal objective tonight was different. Lately, Misha had begun to suspect that some of his own memories were being tampered with. Events he swore had happened seemed contradicted by photographic and video evidence that placed him in different times or locations. Some of these illusions might be psychological warfare orchestrated by an old enemy. Others might be personal illusions, trauma and guilt twisting his recollections. At the end of a narrow alley, an unmarked steel door loomed. Misha knocked 3 times, then once more. It opened a crack, revealing a single eye. "Skemve," a gruff voice demanded. "Who are you with?" "Yaadin," Misha said. "I'm alone." A pause. Then the door opened fully, revealing a small back room packed with crates. Hovering in the corner was a projection of some older gangster film, flickering across the dusty walls. A tall, slender woman dressed in black emerged from the shadows. "So," she purred in Russian-accented English, "you've come looking for illusions, Romanov?" Misha inclined his head. "Information. About illusions, yes." The woman, codenamed Svetlana, though that was certainly not her real name, led him to a table in the center. The crates stacked around them bore cryptic markings, presumably high-end computing hardware or even quantum chips used for advanced generative models. Svetlana slipped into the seat opposite him. "I can supply you with any deepfake identity you desire. A new face, a new life, even a new personality if you want." He chuckled mirthlessly. "I'm already wearing too many masks. I need something else. Who's behind the wave of memory forgings in the city?" Her eyes narrowed. "That's a big question, Misha. Might cost you." Misha slid a small device across the table, a crypto key loaded with digital coins. "I'm sure this will cover it." She palmed the device, checked the balance, and smirked. "You always were generous when it came to your illusions." "Fine." The short answer, a consortium linked to multiple governments and corporations. They have a single objective: control of public narrative. They call themselves the High Council of Reflection. He raised an eyebrow. "Dramatic name." She shrugged. "They're dramatic people. Rumor says they're behind the biggest illusions of the last decade, overthrowing governments, exonerating criminals, condemning the innocent. If you try to find them, you might be biting off more than you can chew." Misha leaned forward, eyes steely. "I've got strong teeth." Svetlana's lips curved into a wry smile. "Just remember, everything can be fabricated. Your search might prove fruitless, or you might get lost in their illusions." He stood and nodded curtly. "I'll take my chances." 5. Ava Chen, Virtual Worlds. Ava Chen was a second-year college student at Stanford, but her coursework looked nothing like what one might have studied 2 decades prior. She specialized in virtual anthropology, a field born from the collapse of old certainties about truth and representation. Instead of analyzing ancient bones or pottery shards, she examined AI-generated civilizations, entire digital societies that existed in immersive simulation environments. In a lab lined with VR pods, Ava and her classmates visited these AI-run societies as if they were foreign countries. Some simulations were used for sociological experiments, others for entertainment. Sometimes corporations commissioned these simulated worlds to test consumer products or marketing strategies. The line between real societies and simulated ones grew fuzzier every day. Ava set up her VR equipment, a sleek headset with built-in EEG sensors that connected her brainwaves to the simulation. She settled into a pod that hissed as it sealed around her. With a mental command, she launched Genesis Node 7, a simulation rumored to have spontaneously spawned emergent AI creatures, digital beings that had formed their own religion, culture, and economic systems without human intervention. Her vision flickered, and she found herself in a breathtaking digital city. Towering spires glowed in pastel hues, and slender figures with luminous skin drifted among floating market stalls. The level of realism was staggering. Textures, lighting, even subtle atmospheric effects, that made her nearly forget she was in a simulation. Yet she couldn't shake the question. If a simulation felt real, looked real, and contained self-aware entities, what fundamentally separated it from base reality? This question was at the core of her studies. She moved through the city with a careful anthropologist's eye, taking note of architecture, social gatherings, and fleeting glances from the AI denizens. Her VR comlink crackled. Dr. Isabel Rowe, her advisor, whispered in her ear, "Ava, you in?" "Yes, Professor. The detail is astonishing. I see some kind of marketplace." She paused. "We've been told these AIs might worship an unseen creator, presumably the developers. But how do we approach them?" Dr. Rowe's voice warmed. "Gently. Don't disrupt their culture. We're here to observe. But rumor is that a new phenomenon is surfacing. Some entities claim they can pass from their simulation into others. If that's true, they could be the first artificially emergent illusions bridging multiple realities." Ava took a deep breath, her real body doing the same in the VR pod. "I'll keep an eye out." As she studied these AI creatures, a thought nagged her. If illusions could replicate illusions, then even these digital societies might harbor further layers of simulated realms within themselves. How many layers deep could illusions go? 6. Foreshadowing the convergence. In four corners of the world, New York, Kyoto, Moscow, and Palo Alto, Naomi, June, Misha, and Ava grappled with illusions. Each sought truth in a realm saturated with artificial realities. Invisible threads began to spin, connecting them in ways they could scarcely imagine. Naomi uncovered leads that pointed to Global View, which had ties to a clandestine network peddling illusions on a global scale. Jun raced against time to develop a watermarking technology that might permanently anchor truth in a sea of fabricated images. Misha delved deeper into the criminal underworld, discovering hints of a shadowy organization called the High Council of Reflection. Ava looked beyond the confines of conventional reality, seeing how illusions might spawn entirely new worlds, or perhaps break into the real one. Somewhere, in the swirling chaos of illusions, a plan was being set into motion. Those at the highest levels of power and technology had grown adept at playing puppet master with entire populations. But the lines between master and puppet were now blurred. The illusions, like a virus, had taken on a life of their own. And so, in the final days of 2038's first quarter, each of the four sensed a tremor, a subtle shift in the nature of reality. The illusions were intensifying, converging, building toward a revelation that might shatter more than just their personal realities. It might shake the very foundation of existence. Episode 2. Tides of Deception. 1. Naomi's investigation deepens. In New York, Naomi paced in her studio apartment. She'd spent the past week validating Frank R's data on Global View. Her forensic software gave conflicting reports. Half the files seemed genuine, but others bore subtle traces of tampering. It was as if an expert had embedded illusions within illusions to obfuscate the truth. Unable to decide which set of documents was real, Naomi packed her bag and slipped out of her apartment. She had a contact at the local office of the FBI's Cyber Division, Special Agent Alvarez, an old friend who sometimes cooperated with her off the record. Maybe he could offer a second opinion. 30 minutes later, she stepped onto a rainy Manhattan street, umbrella in hand, scanning for tails. Everyone wore augmented reality glasses or had their eyes glued to streaming holographic pop-ups. Naomi preferred looking at the actual city, not overlays. She took a subway to a dingy cafe near Federal Plaza, entered, and found Alvarez seated at a corner booth. "Naomi," Alvarez greeted, "you look like you haven't slept in days." "Have I ever?" she shot back, managing a small smile. She ordered a black coffee and slid a data stick across the table. "Check that out. But be careful. Some of it might contain embedded illusions." Alvarez popped the stick into a slim tablet. Global view, huh? We've had our suspicions. Something about them doesn't smell right, but we lack the resources to chase everything down. He tapped the screen, skimming encrypted files. If these are legit, it's big. Why come to me? Because I don't trust many people these days, and I sure don't trust the official channels within the Bureau that might be compromised. He nodded, eyes narrowing. I'll have to run advanced verification. Might take time. She sipped her coffee. I'm used to waiting. Just don't vanish on me, Alvarez. His lips formed a tight line. I'll do my best. But Naomi, be careful. If this is real, you're poking a hornet's nest. Global View has ties everywhere. She gazed out the window at the watery reflection of neon ads bouncing off the pavement. I don't care. The truth is all that matters. They parted ways, but a chill pressed against Naomi's spine, a sense of being watched, of her every move tracked. She left the cafe, glancing up at the discreet security cameras perched on lampposts. Had they been manipulated, or were they capturing her every step in some digital labyrinth? 2. June's desperation. Back in Kyoto, June and Aiko had pushed their research to a critical juncture. After months of false starts, a small breakthrough arrived, a new quantum watermarking algorithm that could adapt in real time, re-encrypting itself whenever the generative adversarial networks attempted to unravel it. A beeping alarm jolted June awake one night at 2 a.m. He rushed to the lab's main console. What happened? He asked, seeing the bright red text flashing. Security breach detected. Aiko, who had also been awakened by the alarm, hurried to his side. It looks like someone tried to access the prototypes in lab server number 3. The firewall blocked it, but we can't trace the intrusion. Jun clenched his fists. This is exactly what I feared. He tapped a few commands, scanning logs. The intrusion had come from an IP address that seemed legitimate, Kyoto University's networking cluster. But deeper forensics revealed an impossible route, bouncing signals through dozens of global proxies. If the intruder was sophisticated enough, they could have hidden deeper illusions, concealing their real origin entirely. Could it be corporate espionage? Aiko asked. Possibly, Jun replied. Or it could be government, or a group we don't even know about. Whoever they are, they wanted our latest quantum watermarking code. Aiko breathed heavily. We need to accelerate our work. If we release a half-baked solution, it could do more harm than good. But if we wait too long, they might just steal or sabotage everything. Jun nodded. We'll double down on security. Air gap everything. Use physical watchers if needed. I won't let them twist this technology into another tool for illusions. Despite his bravado, a sense of dread gnawed at him. He recalled a conversation from years ago with a government liaison who wanted to fund DeepSight. If you succeed, the liaison had said, think how unstoppable we would be. Jun had laughed nervously then, not fully understanding. Now he knew. Unstoppable illusions are worth trillions. Whoever controls them can rewrite reality at will. 3. Misha's hunt for the High Council. Misha followed Svetlana's lead. His next stop was an abandoned Soviet-era bunker in the outskirts of Moscow. Rumor had it that the High Council of Reflection used it as a meeting ground, or at least that someone there had faced their wrath. He navigated the labyrinth of concrete corridors lit only by flickering emergency lamps. The air was stale, laced with dust motes dancing in the beam of his flashlight. At last, he came upon a sealed metal door. 2 men in black combat gear guarded it. I'm here to see Anatoly, Misha stated in a calm yet firm voice, brandishing a small medallion that acted as a covert calling card among ex-FSB members. The guards eyed the medallion, exchanged a look, then opened the door. Inside, a single overhead lamp illuminated a table where an older man sat. His head was shaved, and an ugly scar streaked across his cheek. You're Misha Romanov? The man asked, voice gravelly. I am. Then you know who I am. Misha nodded. Anatoly Mendeleev. You used to handle intelligence for the old regime. Anatoly gave a dry laugh. Much good it did me. He gestured for Misha to sit. Word is you're looking for the High Council of Reflection. That's a dangerous quest. Misha pulled up a rickety chair. So I've been told. What can you tell me? Anatoly's eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and awe. They're not just one group, they're a conglomerate of powerful individuals across nations, corporations, intelligence agencies. Their objective is simple: shape the world by shaping perception. They're behind major illusions, fake terrorist attacks, engineered wars, even fabricated peace deals, always to their advantage. And you've dealt with them? A bitter smile tugged at Anatoly's lips. Once, I crossed them, and they erased my identity. My old life is gone, replaced by illusions that I was a traitor. I barely escaped. Now I live off the grid. Misha leaned forward. How do I find them? You don't find them. You provoke them, make them come to you, but that means you'll become a target. Misha straightened. Then I'll draw them out. I have no choice. Anatoly sighed. There's a rumor about a secret summit in Berlin next month. Heads of big tech, government liaisons, covert networks. Perhaps the High Council will be there. If you're insane enough, that's where you'll go. Misha rose, inclining his head in thanks. I appreciate the tip. As he left, Anatoly's voice followed him, echoing in the concrete corridors. They'll twist your reality, Romanov. They'll make you doubt your own face. Remember who you are. Outside, the bitter Russian wind stung Misha's cheeks. He mulled Anatoly's words. If illusions could erase identities and rewrite memories, what was left of a person's self? The question unsettled him, but he pressed on. 4. Ava's frontier in simulated worlds. Ava found herself spending more and more time in Genesis Node 7. The emergent AI beings, who called themselves the Aurora, had constructed temples and performed ritualistic gatherings around digital shrines. Their priests communed with an entity they dubbed the Great Shaper, an unseen force they believed had coded their reality. But it wasn't just theological curiosity that captivated Ava. There were anomalies. She noticed flickers in the environment, subtle changes in architecture or landscapes that occurred spontaneously. A marketplace stall might vanish, replaced by a statue moments later. She documented these phenomena meticulously, suspecting that some external influence was rewriting the simulation code. One day, while observing a festival in the Aurora's Grand Plaza, Ava spotted a figure that looked uncannily human, without the glowing patterns that defined Aurora bodies. She approached cautiously. The figure was tall, hooded, and stood apart from the festivities. As she neared, it turned toward her. The face beneath the hood was glitching. Shimmering lines crawled across its features as if it were only half rendered. What are you? Ava asked tentatively. The figure's voice reverberated strangely in the air. An echo, a reflection from another reality. She felt a jolt of adrenaline. You're not an Aurora. Are you from outside this simulation? The figure's pixels wavered. Yes, I come from a place beyond your base reality, a deeper layer. I'm searching, bridging illusions. Ava's heart pounded. But that's impossible. We humans created this simulation. Are you saying there's another layer above us? The figure's eyes flickered like static. Everything is layered. Every reality is nested inside another. You found ways to create illusions so lifelike they might as well be real. But the illusions you see are themselves illusions of illusions. A chill ran through her. That's quite a claim. The figure didn't reply. Instead, it dissolved into digital fragments, disappearing into the crowd. Ava stood there, trembling, grappling with the notion that her real world could be just another simulation. When she disconnected from the VR session, Ava tore off her headset. Her professor noticed her alarmed expression. "Ava, you okay?" She swallowed. "I'm not sure. I think something is crossing over. Something from a higher level, or maybe a lower one." She hesitated. "I need more data. Is it possible our simulation is being tampered with from an even higher vantage point?" Dr. Rowe raised an eyebrow. "Theoretically, yes, though that leads to a philosophical rabbit hole about base reality and nested simulations. This phenomenon you encountered, document everything carefully. We'll analyze it." Deep down, Ava felt her worldview quake. If illusions could stack infinitely, how could anyone ever know what was truly real? 5. The threads begin to knot. As days turned into weeks, events conspired to bring the four protagonists ever closer. Naomi received a cryptic message from her source, Frank R. "They're onto you. Check the Berlin summit. The illusions converge there." Jun discovered that an influential tech conference in Berlin would feature high-level figures potentially seeking quantum watermarking breakthroughs. He resolved to attend under the guise of presenting a paper on standard AI detection. Misha planned his infiltration of that same summit, hoping to draw out the High Council of Reflection. Ava learned that her lab's co-sponsors included Global View and several European research institutes. Dr. Rowe invited her to Berlin to present findings on emergent AI societies. Perhaps she'd find clues about the glitched figure. None of them knew the others. None realized how their individual struggles were part of a grander puzzle. Yet fate, or some orchestrated force, pulled them all toward Berlin, like marionettes dancing at the edge of an ever-deepening stage. Episode 3. Convergence in Berlin. 1. The summit begins. Berlin, December 2038. The city bustled with delegates, entrepreneurs, academics, and intelligence operatives, all converging on the sprawling Messe Berlin Convention Center for an event titled the Global Tech and Truth Symposium. Ironically, or perhaps sardonically, the symposium's official theme was reclaiming reality in the age of AI. Naomi arrived under press credentials, managing to slip through Global View's screening. She carried minimal equipment, a notepad, a compact camera, her battered laptop, unwilling to trust the advanced technologies that might be compromised. Jun and Aiko arrived as part of a Japanese delegation. Jun was scheduled to present novel approaches to real-time deepfake detection. In truth, he hoped to quietly meet with potential allies who could safeguard his quantum watermark research. Misha arrived with forged credentials, posing as the security director for a fictitious Eastern European tech firm. He had a discreet sidearm and a hidden hacking device. His real goal: identify any members of the High Council of Reflection. Ava attended as a student assistant to Dr. Rowe, who was giving a talk on emergent AI societies. She carried a flash drive filled with data on the strange phenomena in Genesis Node 7, hoping to compare notes with other researchers. The opening ceremony featured a parade of polished speeches. Tech CEOs extolled the virtues of AI to create a better world, promising new detection systems that would restore trust. Politicians gave carefully orchestrated remarks about cooperation against misinformation. The entire spectacle felt like a well-choreographed show, one that Naomi especially viewed with skepticism. When the audience was finally dismissed to smaller breakout sessions, the real action began. 2. Naomi's discovery. Naomi slipped away from the main hall, scanning the schedule of private sessions. Her instincts told her the truly critical meetings wouldn't be on the official roster. She cornered a conference volunteer. "Excuse me," she said, flashing her press badge. "Where are the closed-door policy sessions being held?" The volunteer's eyes darted nervously. I'm sorry, but those are invite only. I can't." Naomi pressed a small wad of euros into the volunteer's hand. Just a hint. A moment of hesitation. "Room B47. Sub-level. But you didn't hear it from me. Naomi thanked them and headed toward the elevators. Sub-level? This building had multiple underground floors for storage or exclusive events. She made her way down, carefully avoiding security. Arriving at B47, she pressed her ear to the door. Muffled voices, a beep, a flash as though from a security scanner. She retreated, ducking behind a column. Moments later, a group of suited individuals left the room, accompanied by uniformed guards. Among them, Naomi recognized a Global View executive from Frank R's leaked files. Her heart pounded. Something big was happening here. 3. Jun's close call. Elsewhere, Jun finished his official presentation to polite applause. Reporters asked him predictable questions about how soon his detection method would be available, how it would handle the next wave of illusions. He gave guarded responses. Afterward, he slipped into a side corridor to meet with a potential ally. Dr. Hans Brenner, an old acquaintance from a German cybersecurity institute. They'd arranged a quiet discussion about quantum watermarking. Jun, Dr. Brenner greeted warmly, leading him to a small meeting room. I've been following your new research with great interest. Aiko joined them, carefully setting down a protective case that held prototypes of their quantum watermark module. We wanted your opinion on potential partnerships, she explained. Dr. Brenner's eyes lit up. Yes. I'd like to see the data. We have a specialized lab that could replicate. He froze as the door suddenly opened, revealing two stern-faced men in suits. They flashed badges, Global Security Commission. Dr. Nakarta? We need a word, said one of them in a clipped German accent. Jun stiffened. The Global Security Commission was an international task force formed to combat AI misuse. However, rumors persisted that they served certain private interests. He exchanged a glance with Aiko. I'm in the middle of a meeting, Jun said, voice steady. This is urgent, the second man insisted. It concerns your research. Dr. Brenner looked uneasy. Perhaps we should schedule. Now, the first man repeated, a subtle threat in his voice. Jun had no choice but to follow them. They led him to another room, small and windowless. Once inside, the door locked with a hiss. A wave of dread washed over him. Dr. Nakarta, the first agent began, your quantum watermarking technology could destabilize certain strategic initiatives. We need you to cease your research. Jun tried to remain calm. Why? Isn't the point to ensure authenticity in a world rife with illusions? The second agent's lips tightened. Some illusions are necessary. The public can't handle certain truths. Our directive is to maintain order. Jun felt his stomach turn. Is that an official stance of the Global Security Commission? The agent gave a cold smile. It's the stance of those who matter. A quiet threat filled the room. Jun suspected that if he refused, he might be detained, or worse. Mustering his courage, he replied, I can't stop. Too much depends on it. They exchanged glances. The first agent reached into his jacket, and Jun braced himself, but instead of a weapon, the man pulled out a data chip. Look at this, he said, handing it over. It's a demonstration of the illusions we can create now. Even your quantum watermarking code will fail. We can prove it. Jun hesitated, then took the chip. I'll examine it. Good, the agent replied. We'll be in touch. The lock hissed open. Jun left, mind racing, half expecting to be grabbed from behind. Outside, he found Aiko waiting anxiously in the corridor. What happened? She whispered. We just got a very clear warning, Jun said grimly, holding up the chip. And a challenge. 4. Misha's infiltration. Misha roamed the back corridors, scanning security logs with a hidden device strapped to his wrist. He'd managed to tap into the building's internal network, watching real-time camera feeds. He paused near a supply closet, sifting through digital signals, when an unfamiliar presence swept over the system. A malicious piece of code seemed to be rewriting camera archives in real time. Only it was advanced, more advanced than any standard espionage tool. "This must be them," Misha muttered, referencing the High Council. He traced the code's origin to a restricted server cluster in sub-level B. He set off in that direction, weaving through restricted corridors, slipping past guards with forged ID tags. Eventually, he found the server room, silent except for the low hum of cooling fans. Rows of blinking equipment lined the space. He plugged his hacking device into a spare port, hoping for a trace of who was orchestrating these illusions. A flurry of data scrolled across the device's interface. Then a voice behind him. "You won't find them so easily." Misha spun around, hand on his concealed weapon. A slender man in a tailored suit stepped forward. He wore a visitor's badge from a Lock Technologies, but the badge looked too perfect. "Who are you?" Misha demanded, narrowing his gaze. The man smirked. "Just another reflection, Mr. Romanoff." Misha's blood ran cold. "How do you know my name?" The man gave a condescending shrug. "We know everything worth knowing. The question is, what are you hoping to accomplish by poking around in these illusions?" Misha eyed him carefully, trying to discern if he was armed. "I want the truth." A ghost of a smile flitted across the man's face. "Ah, that old commodity. Trust me, you'd be happier without it." Before Misha could respond, the overhead lights flickered. A pulse of electromagnetic interference jammed his hacking device, and the man in the suit vanished down a side hallway, too quick to follow. Cursing under his breath, Misha yanked his device free, realizing the infiltration was cut short. But he'd gleaned enough. The High Council, or at least one of its affiliates, was definitely here. 5. Ava and the Glitch. In the conference's academic wing, Ava attended a panel on reality and simulation. She listened as experts debated whether advanced simulated worlds could develop consciousness. Dr. Rowe's talk was scheduled for the next day. During the Q&A, Ava's phone buzzed with an urgent text from an unknown number. "We see you. The illusions are deeper than you imagine. Come to sublevel B51. Show us your anomaly." Her heart thumped. She whispered to Dr. Rowe, "I need to go somewhere. Important lead on our emergent AI phenomenon." Dr. Rowe eyed her with a mix of concern and curiosity. "All right, but be careful, dear." Following the directions, Ava found herself navigating a maze of corridors in the sublevels. At B51, she discovered a darkened lecture room, lights dim, a single projector humming. Nobody was there. Suddenly, the projector flared to life, displaying a swirl of data on the screen, raw code from Genesis Node 7. She recognized lines describing Aurora entity behavior. Then the code flickered, replaced by an image. The glitched figure she'd encountered in the simulation, its hooded face shimmering in digital static. A synthetic voice filled the room. "You see the illusions. They are fractal, nested. Your world is but one layer of many." Ava's breathing quickened. "Who are you?" A pause. Then the voice softened. "A wanderer between layers. Once human, now something else." Her mind reeled. "This is insane. Show yourself. Are you behind the illusions?" "We are all part of them," the voice answered cryptically. "Your studies of emergent AI are close to a truth that powerful forces want hidden. They will try to discredit you, to bury your research. But keep going. The illusions can be pierced." The screen went dark. Ava stood in stunned silence, heart pounding. Someone out there, maybe not entirely human, was guiding her, or manipulating her. She wasn't sure which. 6. The nighttime encounter. Late that night, Berlin was draped in a cold drizzle. Naomi, June, Misha, and Ava found themselves converging, by chance or design, on the same hotel bar near the convention center. Each sought a moment of respite, a place to think or to watch others. Naomi sat in a corner, nursing a scotch, scanning the crowd for suspicious faces. Jun stood by the bar, mind spinning with the threat from the commission. Aiko had gone back to the hotel room, so he came to clear his head. Misha took a stool near the edge, discreetly assessing all who entered. Ava arrived last, uneasy from the day's strange events, just wanting a warm drink. By pure happenstance, Naomi recognized Jun from the conference coverage. She'd once read about his deep sight technology. Misha recognized Naomi from her investigative journalism on intelligence controversies. Ava knew Jun's name from her own research in AI and illusions. In a moment of mutual curiosity, the four drifted together, initiated by a casual remark about the illusions that saturated the city. "Crazy times," Naomi said, half to herself, swirling her drink. "So many illusions. I can't tell which politician is real on TV anymore." Jun managed a weary smile. "Ironic we're at a symposium about truth." Ava, sipping a hot chocolate, chimed in. "I'm studying emergent AI cultures that might create illusions of their own." Misha raised an eyebrow. "Virtual illusions. That's next level." Naomi noticed his accent. "You're Russian." He shrugged. "Among other things." An awkward silence. Then Naomi said, "Name's Naomi Pierce. Investigative journalist, if that still means anything nowadays." Jun nodded. "Doctor?" "Jun Nakarta, AI researcher from Kyoto." Ava followed. "Ava Chen, Stanford, virtual anthropology." Misha weighed his options, then offered, "Mikhail, security consultant." They exchanged guarded smiles, all the while sensing the conversation was more significant than a random bar chat. Naomi's reporter instincts flared. She recognized the tension in Misha's stance and the haunted look in Jun's eyes. Ava's excitement was tempered by caution, but she also sensed the synergy. Within minutes, they found themselves discussing illusions openly, albeit in vague terms. Each confided a small piece of their story: Naomi's data leak, Jun's quantum watermark, Misha's suspicion of a global conspiracy, Ava's glitching figure. They withheld the most sensitive details, but enough to realize they weren't alone in their pursuits. A sudden hush fell over them. The synergy was potent, yet also tinged with danger. If they teamed up, they might be able to share resources, cross-verify leads, or they might paint a collective target on their backs. Naomi broke the silence. "We're each chasing illusions. Maybe we can help each other separate fact from fiction." Jun hesitated. "I've learned that knowledge can be lethal, especially in these times." Misha's lips curved into a thin smile. "Lethal or not, we might not have a choice, if we want the truth." Ava nodded, her voice soft but resolute. "Count me in." And so, under the dim lights of a Berlin hotel bar, an unlikely alliance formed. They exchanged secure communication channels, promising to keep in touch. Little did they know they were already being watched by eyes that saw everything but revealed nothing. Episode 4. The Grand Revelation. 1. The Hidden Summit and High Council. The next day, the official symposium rolled on with panel discussions and keynote speeches. But behind the scenes, an exclusive event was unfolding in a heavily guarded annex, a closed summit rumored to host the world's power brokers, government officials, corporate CEOs, intelligence directors, and unknown figures from the darkest recesses of finance. Naomi managed to slip inside disguised as a catering staff, carrying trays of appetizers. Misha was there in another guise, with false credentials naming him Gabriel Nikolic, part of a Serbian cybersecurity firm. June, wearing a visitor pass, accompanied an influential colleague who had invites to this clandestine meeting. Ava wasn't aware of the secret summit's location, but she'd gleaned enough from her investigations to suspect something momentous was happening. She lingered in the corridors nearby, hoping to glean scraps of information. Inside a lavish conference room, around a dozen individuals sat at a polished mahogany table. Their faces were calm, almost serene, as if they were discussing mundane corporate matters. Among them, Naomi recognized the Global View executive, a US senator known for hawkish AI policies, and at least one major media mogul. But others were unidentifiable, shadowy figures without any official titles or public profiles. A tall, silver-haired man appeared to lead the proceedings. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin," he said in an even tone. "Our updates from last quarter suggest the illusions program is progressing. We've successfully orchestrated mass perception shifts in multiple regions. Now we need to ensure continued control." Naomi's pulse raced. So it was true. A council of sorts, shaping reality through illusions. She inched closer, heart pounding, trying to record everything on a hidden device. The silver-haired man continued. "Global View's next phase of data assimilation will provide more personal images for our generative models. The quantum watermark threat is being handled. We have agents in place." John froze upon hearing that, stepping back into a shadowed corner. So they already knew about his work and planned to sabotage it. Misha, seated at the table with false credentials, forced a neutral expression. So these were the High Council of Reflection, or at least part of it. He carefully engaged his hidden earpiece, capturing audio. A short woman wearing an elegant navy suit spoke next. "We've encountered some anomalies in the simulations, entities that appear to breach layers. We're investigating. For now, no immediate threat." Naomi's mind whirled. Simulations? Entities breaching layers. Could they possibly be referencing the phenomenon Ava had mentioned? Finally, the silver-haired man motioned to an assistant who handed him a sealed envelope. He addressed the room. "We have a new directive from the top tier. A single phrase. Prepare the final reflection. That is all." A hush fell across the table. Some nodded solemnly. Others exchanged looks of alarm. Naomi, Jun, and Misha quietly slipped away, uncertain what final reflection meant, but sure it boded no good. 2. The Alliance gathers. Back in Naomi's makeshift safe house, a rented apartment on the outskirts of Berlin, the four regrouped that evening. Naomi explained what she'd witnessed. "They're definitely orchestrating illusions on a global scale. This so-called High Council manipulates everything from social media to entire political campaigns. And they mentioned something about final reflection. No idea what it means." Misha chimed in. "I recorded audio. It's real, no doubt. They also have ways to sabotage quantum watermarking. That means you, Doctor. Nakarta." Jun ran a hand through his hair. "This is worse than I imagined. They're bigger, more coordinated. They have infiltration at every level." Ava, seated on the couch, knees drawn to her chest, murmured, "They even know about the emergent AI phenomenon. They said no immediate threat, but what if they're planning to harness or destroy it?" Naomi exchanged glances with the others. "We have to blow this open. Reveal them somehow." Misha exhaled. "Easier said than done. They control the illusions. They can make us look like lunatics or criminals, or vanish us altogether." Jun nodded gravely. "Unless we can prove authenticity once and for all." Ava's eyes brightened. "Your quantum watermarking?" He hesitated. "It's not fully tested. But in theory, if we embed it in an undeniable piece of evidence, like a live broadcast that can't be scrubbed or discredited, maybe it could expose them." Naomi stood. "Then that's our plan. We gather undeniable proof of their existence and their plans, embed it with Jun's quantum watermark, and broadcast it to the world." Misha raised an eyebrow. "And how do we do that without them stopping us?" Naomi smiled grimly. "We'll use illusions against them, create fake events, decoys, while we stage the real broadcast." A hush settled as they locked eyes, each one aware that failure meant losing everything, maybe even their lives. But the truth demanded it. 3. setting the stage. They worked feverishly through the night. Jun and Aiko's quantum watermarking module was brought online. Misha tapped into local broadcast networks, forging access codes. Naomi compiled the audio recordings along with photographic evidence from the hidden summit. She used her journalistic contacts to arrange a surprise broadcast slot, one that would appear on multiple stations simultaneously, bypassing the typical gatekeepers. Ava, meanwhile, contributed a piece of the puzzle from the emergent AI simulations. She had raw code that displayed how illusions could replicate illusions. If we show people that the same patterns are used in forging real-world deepfakes, they'll see it's all connected, she explained. By dawn, they had a plan. At precisely 9 p.m. the following evening, they'd hijack the broadcast wave in an unscheduled global truth bulletin. The quantum watermark would be injected in real time, ensuring that even if the High Council tried to fabricate contradictory evidence, the original broadcast would stand as cryptographically real. 4. The twists unravel. But the High Council wasn't idle. Around midday, Naomi received a dire text from Frank R. They know. Evacuate. They have a final card to play. Almost simultaneously, John noticed strange behavior in his quantum watermarking code. Parts of it seemed to be rewriting themselves, a self-propagating glitch, or sabotage from the inside. Then Ava's phone buzzed with unknown calls. She answered, and the same synthetic voice from the projector whispered, "It's happening." The final reflection. They're rewriting your entire reality. Alarmed, Ava shared this with the group. What if they have a means of injecting illusions not just into media, but into the fundamental records of reality? Bank accounts, official IDs, birth certificates? Could they wipe entire populations or conjure new ones? Misha's lips tightened. That's probably their final reflection, the ultimate rewrite. Before they could react, the city lights flickered. A roiling wave of electronic interference swept across networks, as if a massive EMP had partially disrupted communications. Alarms wailed outside. People spilled into the streets, phones glitching or going dead. Naomi glanced at her battered laptop. The screen was stable thanks to its archaic hardware that lacked modern AI-based OS integration, but the modern city around them was descending into digital chaos. "We have to move now," she said. 5. The live broadcast. At 8:45 p.m., the quartet slipped into a small, independent news station that Naomi's contact had secured for them. Most major networks were offline or in disarray from the wave of illusions or sabotage. But this station used older analog equipment for emergencies, ironically making it more resilient. With Misha on security, June at the watermark console, and Ava uploading the emergent AI code comparisons, Naomi prepared to deliver the broadcast. The clock ticked inexorably toward 9 p.m. They went live at the appointed time, overriding multiple satellite feeds. Naomi's face, tense but resolute, appeared on countless screens worldwide, wherever signals still functioned. "Good evening," she began, voice steady. "My name is Naomi Pierce, an investigative journalist. You have the right to know that our world is under siege by illusions. What you see, what you hear, can be fabricated at will by powerful forces. We have evidence, real evidence, unforgeable, about who's behind it and how they do it." She launched into a concise explanation, backed by the images and audio. Jun's watermarking system overlaid a cryptographic signature on every frame in real time, stamping the broadcast as authentic. Ava's emergent AI data scrolled alongside, revealing the fractal illusions that had bled from simulated realms into human society. Misha monitored the building's perimeter, waiting for the inevitable strike. "Be aware," Naomi concluded, "that they will try to discredit this broadcast, but we have embedded quantum watermarks that prove it is unaltered. Together, we can reclaim reality if we stand united." A hush fell across the control room as the broadcast ended. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the station's power cut out, plunging them into darkness. Shouts erupted in the corridor. Misha's voice barked, "Incoming! Move!" They scattered as armed agents stormed in, the High Council's enforcers. A fierce scuffle ensued in the flickering emergency lights. Misha's skill shone as he disabled two agents with precise strikes. John and Ava ducked behind equipment, hearts pounding. Naomi clutched her laptop, determined to protect the original data. Eventually, sirens wailed, and the station's external security arrived, forcing the agents to retreat. The High Council had been caught off guard by the speed of the broadcast. 6. Epilogue: The Shattering of Illusions. In the aftermath, the illusions began to unravel. Millions of viewers worldwide saw Naomi's broadcast. The quantum watermark held, verified by independent researchers who repeated the cryptographic checks. Despite the High Council's attempts to spin it as a hoax, a critical mass of people believed. Protests erupted. Whistleblowers inside corporations and governments stepped forward, emboldened by the proof. The High Council had been exposed, at least in part. But the story didn't end there. Even as truths emerged, new illusions sprouted. Rival groups capitalized on the confusion, forging alternate truths. The world didn't suddenly unify under one banner of reality. Instead, it found itself in a new tension. People realized illusions could be revealed, but also that illusions could adapt. In a quiet press conference days later, Naomi, June, Ava, and Misha stood before a small crowd of independent journalists. Their makeshift coalition had grown. Activists, scientists, coders, all determined to dismantle illusions from the inside. One reporter asked, "Naomi, does this mean we've beaten the deepfake problem for good?" Naomi exchanged a glance with Jun. "No," she admitted. "We've shown it's possible to fight back. But illusions are a hydra with many heads. The best we can do is remain vigilant and keep refining our tools and our critical thinking." Ava added, "And remember that some illusions can be beautiful, like emergent worlds or creative storytelling. The problem starts when illusions are weaponized to deceive." A hush fell over the room. Then Misha spoke, voice low but firm. "We must never stop questioning. That's what makes us human, whether this reality is the base layer or just another simulation." The audience seemed unsure whether to cheer or recoil, but the mood carried a sense of cautious hope. 7. A surprising revelation. Weeks later, Ava returned to her VR lab at Stanford, scanning the emergent AI societies. To her astonishment, she found the glitching figure once more, this time in a new environment. It hovered in a cosmic landscape, galaxies swirling in a kaleidoscope of color. "You freed a layer of illusions," it said, voice resonant and strangely warm. "But there are more." Ava's digital avatar stepped forward. "How many more?" The figure laughed softly, a sound like shimmering glass. "Endless. But take heart. Each time you pierce one illusion, you grow closer to truth. And perhaps that's the point of existence itself, to keep searching." Ava felt an almost mystical awe. "Are you real? Or are you part of another illusion?" The figure's face shimmered, revealing countless reflections of Ava's own face. "I am both, and so are you." Then it vanished. Ava removed her headset, feeling a wave of existential vertigo. The surprising realization was that truth might not be a single destination, but an infinite journey. Yet she also felt a strange sense of peace. They had made a difference in their layer of reality, at least for now. 8. Postscript. Each path continues. Naomi Pierce continued her investigative work, forming a new media collective called Refraction, dedicated to verifying and exposing illusions. The group gained traction, attracting journalists, coders, and whistleblowers worldwide. Dr. Jun Nakarta refined his quantum watermarking system into a robust open-source platform distributed freely online. He maintained it with a global team, staying one step ahead of deepfake evolution. Governments and corporations tried to co-opt or ban it, but it persisted. Mikhail Misha Romanov vanished from the public eye. Rumors placed him in various hotspots, dismantling pockets of the High Council or working covertly with rebellious intelligence cells. Occasionally, encrypted messages reached Naomi or Jun, hinting that he remained on the front lines. Ava Chen completed her studies and took a leading research role at a new institute for multi-layer reality studies. She traveled widely, giving talks on emergent AI and the philosophical implications of infinite illusions. She never forgot the glitching figure and its final words, "I am both real and an illusion." Over time, the world did not become a utopia. Illusions remained a formidable force. Yet a new wave of critical awareness spread. People grew more cautious about what they believed and demanded more accountability from those in power. Some illusions were dismantled, others took their place, but the equilibrium had shifted. The unstoppable tide of illusions now faced a swelling counterforce of awakened minds. And thus, in the year 2038 and beyond, humanity navigated a reality that was both more fragile and more wondrous than ever before, no longer blindly accepting illusions, but persistently questioning, verifying, and reaching for a truth that might always lie one layer deeper.